Welcome, everybody. We are the MS in Product Management team from Carnegie Mellon University. I'm joined today. My name is Brad Iben. I'm the Executive Director of the program, and I'm joined today by our lead career coach for MSPM, Vanessa Manns, and our admissions lead, Carrie Calvario. Happy to have them with us. It's kind of, they're part of our all-star team here at MSPM. And basically, today, we want to give everybody a general introduction to what the MSPM program is, why it might or might not be for you, and take questions. Really, that's the gist of the presentation today, or the discussion. Think of it as a discussion. We'll be taking questions in the chat. We collected some questions beforehand, and we'll go through them, give you a better understanding of what the Masters in Product Management really is, who it's for, and what it's designed to do. And just to begin the discussion a little bit along those lines, the MSPM program is a STEM program. It's a 1-year full-time program here at Carnegie Mellon. It's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by the way, if you're in the U.S. or familiar with the U.S. We are a program that is operated 50% from the Tepper School of Business. I believe the number 15 or 16 business school right now, and the School of Computer Science at CMU, which is currently tied for number 1. We're really proud of both of those. We're proud of our parents, you could say. And we are a program that is unique in many, many ways, and we'll discuss those features today as we get through the discussion. And one of the ways that this program is unique is that it is focused. It's in the name. It's for product managers. It's to create product managers. It's to train product managers. And that's the reason it is both a hybrid program between the two schools. And it's a reason that it's a 1-year program, because it's very focused on the topics that are specifically intended to train product managers. And there are, let's say, 5 main pillars to the program. There's the traditional Venn diagram that everybody is familiar with, that has business, technology, and UX as 3 of the circles within that Venn diagram. Those are kind of the 3 pillars that the curriculum is based upon. They're the content, if you will. The other pillar, or the 4th pillar of the 5, is that leadership is ingrained in everything we do. The coursework is very frequently based on projects and assignments that are team-oriented and require and introduce leadership principles throughout. And the 5th pillar of the 5 is experience. So when I describe the MSPM program, I don't really describe it as an academic program. It's not about reading books and taking tests. It's about gaining experience through your entire year and even beyond. So there are big factors, big features within the program that are based on experience, with the intention that at the end of the program, we really want people to be in the best possible position to both be great product managers and be successful in their careers as product managers. So experience is the 5th pillar. So we have business, technology, human-centered design, leadership, and experience. And the experience comes in the form both in class, where you're often working on projects that are associated with industry and real world problems, but also in the internship and in the capstone project in the final semester. And when I describe it as a 1-year program, the format is that the classes begin in mid-January and graduation takes place in mid-December. The first semester in the spring is primarily the core courses, where you'll be introduced to business fundamentals, to design fundamentals, to data science and different technology aspects. And then in the summer, students separate to work on internships and gain experience using those practices that they learned, or practicing those techniques and concepts that they learned in the first semester. And the third of the 3 semesters is the fall, and that is primarily electives, so that you can tailor your curriculum to grow in the direction or the style of product manager that suits your aspirations. And that said, I'll pass it to Vanessa Mans, who's our career coach. Very, very effective, very experienced. I'm proud to have her with me. And Vanessa, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Vanessa Mans. As Brad said, I am the MSPM Career Coach. I'm also an Associate Director of Product Management and Technology Careers here in our Master's Career Center at CMU, affectionately known as the MCC. So as Brad said, my career is not rooted in higher ed. I actually joined Carnegie Mellon after spending almost 25 years working in various industries, from chemicals to consumer products to banking and healthcare software, in roles like product management and product marketing. As my career progressed and I became a manager of people, I had the opportunity to review thousands of resumes, interview hundreds of candidates. So the support and advice that I bring to our students is very much rooted in that extensive experience in both being in their shoes as a student. I'm also a graduate of Carnegie Mellon, but then also as a product manager, a hiring manager of product managers on the other side of the table. And then I'll just say that it's actually quite an exciting time in the US to become a product manager. AI is driving a lot of hiring of product managers now. So, product managers who are entering the job market now get to work on the cutting edge of this new technology that's delivering value through AI to both their end users, but also the companies that they're working at. There's a lot of platform PMs working on robotic process automation and other ways of using AI to improve employees' jobs as well as their end users' lives. And when I talk to students initially in my role, probably about 99% of them cite FANG companies as their goal. And so I get to give them a real aha moment in these conversations when I show them our data that over 70% of product manager hiring is happening outside of tech. Because in the US, every company is transitioning, and other places as well, transitioning to being a software company. And that creates a lot of opportunities for open-minded product managers. And then I also just wanted to proactively start the conversation around how competitive it is in the US to become a product manager. The good news is companies are hiring product managers. They're just being cautious after a period of right sizing, right? With layoffs and other reducing staff. And we know that there's a lot of folks competing in the market for product managers. And so competition has intensified for applicants. And how do you stand out in a crowded market? And the support that you will get from the Master's Career Center at Tepper is really your secret weapon to being a strong candidate during tough times. Our career support model is very high touch. You get a lot of personal interactions with myself. And if your interests expand beyond my capabilities to support, we have a number of other career coaches that you can be referred to for support. And then our advice and support is based on literally hundreds of years cumulative work experience and thousands of data points. And we can really help you successfully differentiate yourself in this competitive job market. The other thing is that networking is playing an even bigger role in our students securing offers. And so this is always another aha moment for students when I first start working with them, is when we go over their networking plan and identify how many people they already know who can possibly help them. So that's just a little taste of what you'll experience when you're working with me. I don't know, Brad, if you want to hand it off to Carrie, or we want to address any questions that are coming in.
Let's introduce Carrie first. And I'll I was busy typing in the chat. I didn't quite post it, but I wanted to say you are the secret weapon. You're
Oh, thanks.
at least, and I know many alums who will verify that. Uh, so
Thank you.
in terms of introduction, Vanessa's our, let's say, student facing or customer facing secret weapon, and Carrie is the behind the scenes. Carrie's the back end
Yeah.
secret weapon. Carrie is our lead for the admissions team. And Carrie, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I have been at Carnegie Mellon a long time. I've been here 10 years. So I've been here since the start of our program, not quite 10 years ago. So it's just been really exciting to be, front row seat to the growth that we've seen, how things have evolved, and the partnerships and the support that we can offer from there. It's interesting. You all just heard from Vanessa, and she talked about just the high touch level and the importance of networking. We're doing round 1 MSPM interviews right now. I finished an interview about 20 minutes ago, and they were asking about networking and asking about career center resources. And I said, well, let me tell you about those resources. So one of the things that I wanted to say that just because it was super fitting and just super relevant, I do want to just kind of take a step back and say, like, from an admissions standpoint, so you've heard from Brad about the program, from Vanessa about the support once you're here. My role is really identifying who is the best fit, who can be successful here, what resources can we provide to them? Can we get you the PM role that you want? Are you open to others, and all sorts of those things? So, when we're working in admissions, we're working under 3 formal rounds of admission. Round 1 is right now. So it is not too late at all, though, for this cycle. We are basically just kicking off. Someone, I think, asked, is there an intake in the fall? We are only a January start, so we are off cycle. It's only 1 start per year. So we are doing admissions right now for our January start. You have lots and lots of time left. So we've actually, over the past couple of years, in partnership with both Brad's team and Vanessa's team, worked to just really identify deadlines that are really beneficial to our applicants and to our admitted students when it comes to starting off recruiting right away, visas for international students, all sorts of things. So this is actually this round 1 that I was just speaking about is the earliest round 1 that we've had, only by a couple weeks, but that was all done intentional to allow more time, even in the later rounds, in rounds 2 and 3, to allow for some of those nuts and bolts and just the ever increasing importance of starting recruitment early. So we are a one-stop shop when it comes to admissions. So we will review all applications. We conduct all of the interviews in-house here in the MSPM admissions team. We'll be the ones chatting with you throughout the process if you have any questions. My colleague James has hosted several Ask Me Anything sessions. So if you're more familiar with James's face, he's our lead recruiter for MSPM. And so the last piece, and then we can kind of maybe dive into some questions, is really, what do we see? What makes a really great candidate? This maybe is the first piece, but I was kind of going through some of the logistics first. Is, we talked about the design, the design-centered focus of the program, the 5 pillars that Brad was saying. My job and our job in admissions is to make sure, can you be successful in a program like that? What have you demonstrated in your application, in your admission interview, in your video essay that speaks to success in the program? There is no secret. There is no be this undergrad degree, get this undergrad GPA, have this amount of this. There is no, you're hearing it here. There is no secret, but it really is holistic. It really is looking at, okay, what is your background academically? Can you be successful in graduate level business courses, graduate level design and CS courses? Doesn't mean you have to be a software engineer. Doesn't mean you have to have all these different programming language knowledge. You have to have aptitude, though. And so those are the sorts of things that we look at within the application process. I think the nature of our program probably lends itself to folks have more of a technical background. I think there's just a natural attraction and instinct to to go towards a product management program like that. But it does not mean that we are looking for one specific background that can be successful here, because I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. So looking at types of classes that you've had, experiences, work experiences is especially important when it comes to career outcomes and things like that. So those are all factors. Another big one is just fit with the program, the culture. Do you understand what life as a product manager is like? How do you do with indirect authority versus direct authority? How do you handle successes? How do you handle failures? How do you handle those things? Those are all assessed through the essay question we ask you to submit, interview questions that we go through. So the entire admission process has been designed in collaboration with the program team, with the Career Center, to really create the best cohort of students that we can. You're only here for a year, but then you're an alum forever. And so we do really work collaboratively to try and identify that in the admission process. So maybe I'll leave it there and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, Carrie, as it relates to the starting in the spring question versus the fall, I'll just add that so the admissions cycle is ongoing now and throughout the summer. And part of the reason that, a broader look at the calendar includes what we call pre-orientation. So there's an entire process where months before you even set foot in class, we're working, more specifically, Vanessa is working and her team is working with incoming students on resume readiness, on networking workshops, on a highly hands-on collaborative approach toward preparing people for the job search of the internship at a time when companies are looking for interns and getting a head start on the academic year overall. That's a major feature that we have, where we're kind of adopting you, and it's a warm start rather than a cold start in January when you arrive. Vanessa, did I cover that pretty well?
Well, you did. And I would just say as well, add to that the students who engage early are more successful in their internship outcomes. And if you have a successful internship outcome, your full-time search is going to be more successful. So I would just add to that, in early engagement in the process is about you. It's not about us. We're happy to meet you whenever you're ready, but signing, making a deposit and responding to the first welcome email and signing up for the workshops and the pre-orientation sessions and having your first session with me as soon as possible is all about your success in getting that internship.
And a question I commonly get at the end of my interview is how can I best prepare myself for the start of the program? Oftentimes it's, can I take a class? Is there something like that? And I say, you need to engage with the Career Center as soon as you are able to. And of course, you need to wait and follow the proper procedures of finding out that if you're admitted and then choosing, and then submitting that enrollment deposit. But the very next step should be respond, or when Vanessa reaches out. So that's always my advice when candidates say, how can I best be prepared for the start of this program, is start your career search, work with Vanessa.
Yeah. And Carrie, I think you mostly answered the next question regarding what the selection criteria is.
Yep.
I'll just add that we look at everybody individually and holistically. Right. So there aren't what you might normally consider to be cutoffs. There are, however, a few attributes. The first, and probably the closest thing to being a strict approach, is that we really want students who have experience. So people that are straight from undergrad, this program is not exactly for them. And Carrie could actually steer you toward programs at Tepper that are.
Yeah.
But the reason that this program is not for like a 21, 22-year-old straight out of an undergrad degree is that employers who are hiring for product managers realize the level of responsibility that a PM has. And it's far more beneficial to have at least a few years of work experience on teams, understanding the workforce, being able to prove yourself and solve problems and communicate with people. So they're looking for an element of maturity, they being the employers. So it's not that an undergrad can never get a PM role. It's just that it's far more rare. So we look for people with years of experience in general, unless there's some standout quality otherwise. Generally, on average, our students have 7 years of experience, and between 4 and 10 is really the sweeter spot. Some people, we have students who have more and less, but in the range of the typical student profile, it's somebody who has developed a professional reputation of their own and is ready to move into a leadership role, or has started as a young product manager and realizes the entire world of information and skills that are necessary and is ready to improve upon those skills. And as it relates to those skills, and as it relates to preparing people for the job market, as I said up front, what we're really looking for is people with the potential to be great product managers. And that starts and ends really with leadership. It's a leadership position. It's not sitting in a cubicle solving, writing code or solving mathematical problems all day. It's communication, it's problem solving, it's understanding both your customers and your coworkers. So the ability to lead people really starts with integrity at the foundation. So we're looking for people that have that, what's called a servant leadership attitude. And the other element that really separates the successful students from the rest is the growth mindset, the ability to look at yourself critically and say, honestly, I don't know everything. There's an infinite amount that I can learn, and I'm here to improve myself, improve my skills, and make the experience of those around me as much improved as possible for the next year. Those people, the people that walk in with the correct mindset, the correct motivation, are unanimously the ones who succeed the most during the course of the year and thereafter.
Should we answer some questions?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So we are STEM certified. Brad mentioned that. So you do have that opportunity post-graduation for the additional STEM extension. What is the next intake? So we are recruiting right now, or doing admissions for spring 2025. So January 2025 start date. So we are in round 1 right now, as I mentioned, but we have 2 more formal rounds of admission throughout the summer. Again, those are intentionally designed to allow for max amount of time for several things: for recruitment, for international students with visas, to, oftentimes we are one of the only spring start programs that I know of. And so many of you may be looking at other more traditional fall start programs. And so the timing of our decisions also allows to kind of be weighing between a fall start and a spring start, and not have to give up a secured seat in another program because CMU doesn't give you your decision until September or October. So lots of logistics going into that, but we are right now actively, the application is open for January 2025. You can check it out. You can start it, it'll auto save, you can come back to it. It only takes about 30 minutes start to finish to submit your application. Allow some more time though to practice your video essay, to write your essay question, identify your recommenders. So there's some extra things, but to get through the bulk of the application really is only about 30 minutes. So not too big of a lift at all. If it's taking you longer than that, don't think like, oh my goodness, I did something wrong. Why, but just, know that you can complete it in probably an evening or an afternoon if you have some spare time. You've taken the GMAT. Do you need to take the GRE? It's your choice. So we accept both, and we also have a test waiver process. We are not test optional, but we do have a waiver. You basically submit an essay. Doesn't have to be this 5-paragraph, beautifully written essay, but it really just shares more with the admission committee. And there's some guidance as well, but shares more with the admission committee as far as what in your background demonstrates that you can have the GMAT or the GRE waiver. Oftentimes it's work experience, it's prior degrees or a degree, it's programming skills or quantitative skills you might have. So you can submit either the GMAT or the GRE, or you can apply for a test waiver. I will say many of our candidates do apply for and get the waiver, not saying like we're super generous and everybody gets the waiver, but I think it's the technical nature of our program leads to candidates who do have that quantitative aptitude. And so we aren't like looking at these test waivers of like, oh, I wish this person had taken a GMAT or a GRE. So it's really your personal choice. You will be viewed exactly the same when it comes to consideration for admission, consideration for merit-based scholarship, which is also provided at the time of admission. So hopefully that covered the GMAT and GRE. Should I just keep going down the line, or should I let others go?
Carrie, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
I was just going to say there are 2 questions regarding work experience.
Oh, yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to address both of them. So 2 to 3 years is on the lower end of experience, but I think that, talking with employers as much as I do, that I don't think that excludes you from being hired as a PM in the U.S. Like Brad said, especially if the projects or companies you've worked on have been, extremely challenging and you've done a lot of growing in those 2 to 3 years, you could be as far along as someone who has more work experience. So it's very individual what you accomplished in those 2 to 3 years. So I don't think it precludes you from, recruiting for a role in the U.S. as a PM at all. And I don't think it precludes them from applying for admissions, does it, Carrie? No, right?
Nope. Yeah. No prereqs. So to add on to Vanessa, there aren't any prereqs that you need.
Yeah. Carrie, Abhijit had some questions, some pre-submitted questions that he's posting now as well. Is having a tech background super important for PM? What experience I need to move my screen around, would count as relevant experience for the MSPM program? We probably all have an opinion on this. I'll start with some basic history or background or facts. When the program was started, the original thinking was that it would be for computer scientists only. What we've found over the years is that was a poor assumption. Now, that said, about 80% of our students have either a CS or an engineering background of some kind. But that's 80%. That's the majority, but it's not everybody. We've had extremely successful students from finance, from biology, from different sectors, different industries, different entrepreneurship, different roles. That's part of what makes the diversity of the cohort beneficial, is because we have people from different backgrounds and different disciplines learning with and from each other. As far as the technical requirements, there is a technical element to the curriculum, and in most PM jobs, you need to be comfortable with technology. You don't necessarily need to be you don't necessarily need to have an engineering level grasp of technology. You don't necessarily need to be an expert programmer yourself. That's why you have a team. At some PM jobs, that is true. We have people that go to become tech PMs, and they go to companies that value understanding technology, like AWS, of course. But then there are other companies where PM is a human role, and the ability to work with those teams and to communicate with them. You need to be able to speak the language, but you don't need to be an expert data scientist to work alongside your team's data scientists, for example. So with that in mind, it's it gets back to the idea that everybody is evaluated, everybody is reviewed holistically and independently, because you should be comfortable with technology and being in a tech environment, and perhaps even a comfort level with coding. But you don't need to be a programmer, you don't need to be an engineer, you don't need to have an expert level at any of those things. Most of our students come in at an expert level in one discipline. So we might have somebody who's been an entrepreneur, but they've never really been around development teams. We might have somebody who's been a designer and they don't really understand the business impact of the designs that they work on. And that's the reason for this program. That's the reason for the education. So the real threshold is to be comfortable communicating with technical teams, to have a general understanding of various types of technology, but it is not limited to engineers or developers or data scientists or those types of people. We have, like I said, I think 2 years ago, our highest grade point average was a person from bio. So she was perhaps the least technical in her cohort, but she succeeded more than anybody else in class. Vanessa, Carrie, any other thoughts on that? It's a common question.
Yeah, I think again, I think there's a reputation of Carnegie Mellon. There's the reputation of these programs that we celebrate, and then I think does, produce that, like, oh, I have that tech background, and I think that is why you see. So it's not like, we're saying you don't have to have this, but you say, okay, 80% of the class, are we only selecting those folks? Our applicant pool is that I think the folks who are naturally attracted to our program and who find themselves, in a really good fit, tend to be of that. So, we value the diverse backgrounds. We want that. I think it helps with it enriches conversation. It enriches the classroom. But I think it's just the nature of a program like this is that you likely are going to have some level of technical aptitude.
I'll just add, from like a resume perspective, we'll work together to craft your experience in a way, your relevant experience in a way that translates into PM job descriptions. So I like to think that there's like 3 key things that a product manager needs to be able to do and needs to be able to explain on their resume that they've done. The first is solve problems. Right. So like asking why, and getting to the bottom of why a problem is happening. A PM also has to be able to like communicate and collaborate. So that human side, they're a bridge between technology and business, really. And so, I'm sure everyone has experiences where they've had to do similar things in their roles. So we make sure that stands out really well on your resume. And then being results oriented. So using data to make decisions, quantifying the impact that you've had. So we would work together really closely in our first meeting to make sure that that comes through in your resume in a way that is relevant to product management job descriptions.
Looks like the next question is for an aspiring PM professional. How is MSPM more beneficial than adopting the MBA route? I'll start that because I like this question, and I'll start by saying I'm going to change the question. I'll change it from how is it more beneficial to for whom is it more beneficial, because both are products unto themselves, and both can be extremely beneficial for the right person. And that's where we get into the differentiation between MSPM and the MBA. The right person for MSPM is a person who knows for sure that product management is for them. We're very specific and focused on purpose. So MSPM does not lend itself to a job in operations or something like that, which an MBA very well could. An MBA is, in general, more general than the MSPM. We have a very narrowly defined name and purpose, where an MBA is business administration. It's by definition more broad and more general, which is one of the reasons to compare 1 year versus 2 as well, in most cases anyway. The other area that is of most significance when looking at product management and which path may be right for me is that MSPM is designed for product managers specifically. And insofar as that is concerned, there are a lot of MBAs and tech MBAs, and I'm sure the people considering MSPM are also considering a handful of degrees that are named tech MBA, right? I could tell you the universities. The the difference between us and the rest is that there are a lot of degrees out there that focus on business and technology, and there ought to be. It's extremely important. Ours includes design alongside those, which is missing from nearly every other degree program. MBA, like I said, is more general, but we are partnered with the School of Computer Science to offer the design thinking courses, the design of AI products, all these design courses that make up a significant part of the curriculum and are, in fact, one of the most important skills, I would argue perhaps the most important skill for a product manager, is the idea of applying design thinking to your problem solving. And it's at the foundation of what MSPM offers. So that's one of the very significant differences and that's one of the things that separates us as being more specific and more designed with a specific purpose. Alongside that, we have the experience element, which some MBAs will and some will not. But getting back to the idea that an MBA is the right decision for a person who needs an MBA, who is maybe 51% sure they want to do product management, but they'd be happy to do consulting or operations instead. Whereas ours is 99% certain that they want to be product manager. And the whole experience is tailored accordingly. So including the career center and all the services and the discussions, guest speakers, they're all product management. It's a product management package, where an MBA would be, if you want a more broad, diverse education that is really 2 years worth, then an MBA is right for that type of person. What's the difference between compensation levels of MSPM students versus MBA students getting into product management? Vanessa, do you want to jump on that?
Yeah. So it's interesting because so many more companies are now hiring product managers to work on internal and external software products. I think, and they're not the companies that are going to have a differentiation. They're not going to have a different program for an MBA versus an MSPM or other specialty masters. Some of the bigger tech companies will make a difference, a differentiation, but we're just seeing the number of companies who don't include specialty masters in their job postings and are just focused on MBAs, really getting smaller and smaller. So the difference between the comp is really related to your experience versus what degree you've earned. So I would almost say the different question to ask is, and you can look this up. There's a website called levels.fyi. We use that a lot ourselves, where you can look at different comp versus the job level at a lot of top companies. That's really where they're making the differentiation in salary, is based on what experience level they're bringing you in. Really, most are not doing, discriminating between, oh, you have an MBA and you have an MS. There's going to be different. We're going to bring you in at a different level. Just kind of probably the largest tech companies will do that.
There's another question for you, Vanessa, that may just be out of the post-program opportunities compare for computer background versus non?
Got it. Yeah. So that's not, there's not a meaningful difference when you look at what domain people came from. Where we can really make a good comparison is engagement in career career skills, management skills, and search and networking versus not engagement. So when I look across the students who have great hiring outcomes, generally they're the ones who have taken advantage of all the resources that Tepper provides them, not just myself, but our leadership center that has workshops and one-on-one coaching to develop leadership and communication skills. Brad and the MSPM team offer a lot of extra workshops around the program to go deeper on topics that students are really interested in going deeper. So I think it's the differentiator, at least from what I see on the outcome side, is more how engaged were you in all the resources that you were provided with, aligning those to maybe gaps that you have in your experience or your skill set, and actively working to fill those gaps through these different programs that you can take advantage of while you're here.
I always tell folks whenever, whether it's in the interview or whether it's after they've been admitted, that if you arrive to campus, or actually for this program, even before you get here, and you haven't engaged with the Career Center, you haven't, you get here and you're surprised that, these things exist, then my team needs to do a better job, because that's just such a critical part of your success here, is how early you engage, how often you engage. If Vanessa or her team don't know your name, then that's probably not going to be in your favor when it comes to, and it's not like Vanessa's calling up the recruiter saying, don't hire this person because they didn't talk to me, but it speaks to your preparation, your, just your ability to overall be more successful when it comes to interviews that you're getting, resume getting looked at. So I always say to folks, like, if you in these next couple months, and when you get to campus, if you're surprised that the Career Center is, emailing you and doing these things, then we've got to talk and get you some more information about the program.
So, scanning back through the questions in sequential order.
Yeah.
I think we answered the question about the intake and the timeline. Yes. We answered the GMAT GRE session question regarding scholarships. I'll give a quick note on scholarships. So, and I think it looks like there's some acknowledgement. So one of the, as it relates to scholarships, they are relatively limited for MSPM. We don't have the same type of funding because the structure of MSPM is very different than a typical MBA. We first, our entire ROI mathematics is different. We have a 1-year experience. We have the internship, and then we have graduation and off to full-time roles. So the ROI calculation for MSPM versus a typical MBA is very, very different. And I'd advise people to look at that. And the scholarships, there are, like I said, very limited scholarships. It won't be anything close to like 50% or full ride. It's much more limited than that, and only based on application merit.
And that's industry wide as well. So, certainly, outside of even the MS in product management, but, across specialty master's admissions, specialty master's programs, scholarships in general, and scholarship budgets at schools, they just can't compare to an MBA. And so, they're merit-based scholarship. We don't have any need-based. I don't know of any program at Carnegie Mellon that does do need-based versus merit-based. So when you submit your application for admission, that's also your application for scholarship. The same things that we look for and consider for admission are going to be in consideration for merit-based scholarship. So at the time of admission, when we produce those decisions, we're also letting candidates know of those scholarships. But just to echo what Brad said, is that the budget is limited, but that's also just program-wide, that specialty master's admissions typically don't have very large budgets for scholarships.
Thanks, Carrie. I'm looking down, and hopefully I don't mispronounce anybody's name, but I'm looking at Pratyusha's question about, can someone with consulting experience make it to product manager, and do we need to be able to code? I loosely addressed the coding question, and I'll say regarding coding, anybody who, whether you're considering MSPM or whether you just don't have any coding and you're interested in product management, it's not a bad idea to take an introductory course, like a boot camp or something, just to be familiar with the process of coding, be comfortable, like I said, with communicating with people that do code. As far as the first part of that question, does consulting experience make a good transition to product management? Definitely. I see Vanessa agreeing. Do you have any further thoughts on that, Vanessa?
Well, I just, consulting, when you're working as a consultant, whether it's an associate or an analyst, however far you are in your progression, you're getting experience doing all of those things that I talked about earlier: problem solving, communication, leadership, you're results driven, data driven. So I always find it's very easy to correlate consulting experience to a product manager resume, because you're already doing a lot of those things. The difference is you don't own the product. Usually the company you're working with owns the product, but you're doing very similar product management work. And I do see in a lot of job descriptions, they will specifically mention, must have this experience or consulting, right? Because they know the critical thinking skills and soft skills that you're having to develop in those roles. So I think it's a great career path.
Definitely. What else do we have? We talked about the after graduation opportunities for computer background versus other, right? Are folks with previous PM experience given higher preference? Oh, this is a good question. Are people with previous PM experience given higher preference for the program compared with business or data analysts planning to transition to product management as well? Carrie, do you want to start that one? I can take it.
So for the program, right? Not for employment. Okay. I was just like, I think Vanessa should talk about that. So given higher preference, or is the program open? So we're open for all. So as we mentioned before, no prereqs, no kind of fingers crossed behind our back saying this is not, we want this. I will say, again, from kind of stealing what Brad had said, of like changing it up a little bit, of like thinking who is the program for and what do you hope to get out of the program? And so if you have previous PM experience, at what level was it, right? So, if you're coming in as a senior product manager and you've been doing it for 9 years and you've gotten 2 promotions, and it's kind of like, what are you hoping that you'll get out of this program? We understand the brand of Carnegie Mellon. We understand, the impact that has. But I would say, if you are coming in with that, ask yourself that question and think really critically. And maybe the answer is, I'd like to be able to establish my PM career in the United States or something like that. So for business or data analysts that are wanting to transition, I think we see that more because you've been the doer, you've been the number crunch, you've been the technical person, you've been the technical lead. and you do, whether you've maybe worked with a product manager or, you kind of see that of like, I want to be that. I want to be that bridge between these different departments or these different groups. So from a like admissions preference, or is one candidate more competitive than the other? No. But if somebody is coming in with PM experience and it's more at a senior level or a high level, my question then just becomes, are we the best fit for them? Are they going to get to our program and have seen a lot of the things that they're already seeing with the curriculum, versus maybe you're an associate PM, maybe it's your title is product management, but you haven't really gotten into some of the more advanced things that can come from there. So just having that title on your resume doesn't automatically make like my spidey senses go up. But I would say it's like, think critically of where are you in your career? What have you achieved? Have a conversation with us of like, what does the curriculum entail? And is this really going to be the best for you with what your career goals are?
I love the way you described it in terms of goals, Carrie. Yeah, I'd say there are really three profiles. One is people who are individual contributors and want to make sort of an upward diagonal move to product management. The other is young PMs who realize that there's a million things they don't know and they want to develop that skill. I would say a third, maybe more common than you would think, type is a lot of PMs in industry sort of stumbled their way into product management, and they were given this job, given this title, but they were never given any training on how to do it. And sometimes those people can be in relatively senior positions, like at senior PM, but they realize that they have weak spots, or they totally bypassed the education portion and realized that that's a liability to them. But you're 100% correct in terms of it depends on what your goals in the program are, and can we deliver them, and is it a fit? It's really about fit.
Right.
There's an important question. I don't know if it's sequentially next, but Vanessa, I'll defer to you on this. How has the employment report for 2023, how does it look in comparison with the past, despite I like the word dicey situation with layoffs? Vanessa, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I thought my dogs were going to bark, so I put myself on mute. Thank you. So the important thing to know here about the way we track outcomes is we continue to track students for 6 months after that December grad date. So we actually haven't closed out our tracking year yet and won't for over a month to go. But just sort of like anecdotally, it definitely has been a tougher job market, I would say 2022 and 2023. For all the reasons I'm sure you're already aware of: layoffs, inflation, uncertain political situations in the US and in other countries, all kind of things that are out of our control. But, what I can say is anecdotally, students are getting good opportunities. They're just taking longer to get them. So, there's a lot of, resources that we continue to provide to students for 6 months post-graduation, including help from me and the rest of the Career Center. So, regardless of what happens, in 2024 and beyond, hopefully the market, we're very hopeful that the market will get better as some of this uncertainty becomes more certain, and companies start to invest in hiring people with AI skills. So, we continue to support our students for months and months after graduation, even in a slow job market. And I just wanted to also mention, before we run out of time, a lot of questions about qualifications, right? Like, what if I'm doing this now? What if I have experience doing that? I think one way that you can really help yourself, I think probably on the admission side, but also most importantly on the job market side, is to get engaged in AI products. So whether you're using an AI product in your job, or you're building an AI product, or, working on a team that's building an AI product, that's going to make you stand out from the crowd. And so, any opportunity you have, before you decide to apply, get up to speed on, how AI is being used in the industry you're in today, in the industry that you want to get into, because that's going to be kind of a table stakes in the future. And so candidates who today have those AI skills and knowledge are going to really stand out from the crowd and have, I think, an easier time marketing themselves.
Do you want me to take the GPA? I think we might be caught up to that because
Yeah,
we
I think
talked a
you're
little
right.
bit about not PM, but PM adjacent. So maybe on the weighted. So we all have our undergraduate careers. So it's a requirement of the program, especially as Brad had mentioned, we do, see folks more successful with more years of work experience. So nobody can go back and change their undergrad. Nobody can go back and change that grade. So we do pay attention to that when it comes to looking for things like aptitude, right? So, if you graduated 9 years ago, 8 years ago, and you're like, goodness, I was a totally different person then. Yeah, we know that. And we understand that, but we do have to look for demonstration of aptitude. Have you seen what classes have you seen? How did you perform? Are there grade trends that we can see? Did you start out maybe not as strong and then end stronger? Were you stronger in your major versus in your outside of your major courses? So all sorts of things that we look at. We don't look at high school. We don't look at anything, whatever before your undergraduate would be called. If you have a master's or a graduate level degree, we do, of course, put that into consideration, especially if you did better in that graduate degree than maybe your undergrad. So all of these things are really just kind of forming that holistic review and that holistic picture of, we've talked so much about career, and as well we should, but you also have to pass your classes, and we also have to, also have to be able to handle, like I mentioned at the beginning, that graduate level coursework. So we look at it for aptitude. We look at, we're not looking again for I didn't have a 3.0, or my school doesn't even have a 3.0 scale or a 4.0 scale. How do you do it? How do you do that? So there's all sorts of resources that we have in admissions. We don't ask you to convert an international or a non 4.0 GPA. We want to know what you got at your school and what scale it was on, whether it was a 100-point scale, a 10-point scale, a class, first class with distinction, all sorts of things. So weightage, equal weightage, I guess, to answer the question. But know that there's a bigger conversation behind just what was the GPA, what was the performance, and it doesn't end there.
Carrie, Vanessa, if it looks like we got through almost all of the questions and just have a few minutes remaining, I'm thinking I see Abhijita's posting some of our contact information. I just wanted to maybe close with some thoughts on how people can get more information, connect with us. Yep. For starters, there are a handful of resources on our website, which is hosted through the Tepper website. It's the only MS in product management, so it's easy to find. We have student ambassadors listed there. About 12 of the current students are willing to talk with you, answer questions. We're happy to share their contact information on the website. I see that some of our LinkedIn, so feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I see some of those links are being shared. We have office hours with the admissions team. Carrie, do you want to?
Yes. Yeah, so I believe James is doing them every Friday. I think that was my understanding, is that every Friday he has those office hours. And so I would treat them not as a show up and have him tell you about the program, but hey, I did this, I saw this on the website, I had a few questions about it, similar to today, of just like having some basic understanding. But yeah, I believe that they are Fridays. He maybe moved them to Thursdays for the summer, but it's all on our website.
Posted in the chat. We have for people who join this presentation, who are interacting, we have a waiver fee, a fee waiver for the application. If you use GMAT Club 25 in the Tartan code field on the application, you can apply without the fee. So there's really nothing to lose.
Yep.
Is there anything else that we need to clean up?
Not from me.
I think we covered a lot of territory this hour.
Yeah. Great questions, everyone.
Yes,
yeah, thank you all. All right.